This is absolutely wild. You're not going to believe this one. The Destiny 2 Red War copyright lawsuit. This has been ongoing for years. This has been a never-ending saga, okay? The forever fight between Casper Cole and Bungie. It has now ended as Bungie reaches full settlement with author. So, if I'm understanding this correct, they reached a settlement outside of court, so it didn't go to a trial. Very interesting. This is what I was recommending for Bungie to do just because of the PR nightmare that this has created. But how crazy is that? Because if this is accurate, if they did reach a settlement outside of court, then does that kind of mean the Red War campaign was yoinked, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of crazy if that's insinuated from this, you know? Let's go ahead and jump into it here. Bungie has fully settled the Destiny 2 Red War campaign lawsuit with writer Matthew Martineau, ending a year-long legal fight. In these legal battles, the only true winner is the lawyers, okay? The lawyers on both sides made bank from this one. Well, and also Martineau would have made bank if they settled out of court. I mean, could you imagine the amount that they were settling for? That's going to be a pretty penny out of Sony's pocket. The copyright lawsuit against Bungie over Destiny 2's Red War campaign has finally come to an end. The case was first filed in October 2024 by sci-fi writer Matthew Kelsey Martineau, who claimed Bungie copied major parts of his 2013 to 2014 online stories. And we looked into this, and it was very half-baked. I mean, the stuff he said that they were stealing is pretty common in lots of stories, really. Some of the similar names were used, I guess, but to say that it was plagiarism, it was a bit of a stretch. But the problem that lied with it was that Bungie could not reproduce the original Red War campaign because of sunsetting, so they couldn't defend themselves in court on the issue. And then Martineau continued to stack more accusations. They started to stack Curse of Osiris on top of that. He started to just recently stack the lore books on top of that. He was just going after them. I mean, he was absolutely hounding them for these legal troubles, and the PR nightmare that goes with it is obviously not good. Bungie was just recently caught in the marathon art theft scandal. I'm not here to rehash all the details of that, of course, but when you get found guilty of that, the last thing you want is for this thing to go to a trial, and maybe by some crazy turn of events, they find you guilty again. Like, that would be the end of your company, right? Like, if you're found guilty for stealing assets for Marathon and for Destiny 2, and a court, confirms that, like, it's not just rumors or suspicion, that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not good. You don't want the reputation of being the company that steals art. So settling this out of court was the better move in this situation. I think that Bungie was thinking that they were going to take it all the way to a trial and win, and that it would be a big W for them. I'm not sure what happened within their own studio to change their strategy, because clearly if they wanted to settle out of court, they could have done so much earlier, like before it got to this point. So clearly something drastically changed where they decided, no, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth battling anymore. We're going to call it quits now. He argued that Destiny 2's Red Legion faction, the Red War plot, and several story elements were taken from his work. Once the case survived Bungie's attempt to get it dismissed, it moved along into a discovery process that pulled old campaigns, lore, and even YouTube videos into the discussion. Bro really busted out the Bife video just so he could defend his case here, right? As the case went on, Martineau kept expanding his claims. He first added the Curse of Osiris expansion, like we mentioned, saying it also overlapped with his original writing. Then earlier this month, his legal team tried to add the Destiny Grimoire anthology books. So they got Curse of Osiris, Red War, and literally the Grimoire anthology, so like the lore books themselves, saying they recently discovered them and believe they shared even more story beats with his ideas. That addition came on top of the narrative claims already targeting the Red Legion, story themes, and world-building elements inside Destiny 2. Now, is it possible that someone from Bungie on the narrative team had read Martineau's work and took it as inspiration? Definitely. Did they step over the lines of plagiarism? From what I've seen, I read some of his work, and I've obviously played the Red War campaign many times. I'm a big fan of that. I don't really see it personally. As much as I would love to be like, man, y'all stole it just like you did with Marathon, right? As much as that would be a crazy line and a crazy, statement, I'm not a fan of just outlandish things for the sake of chaos, right? I am a big believer in the evidence, and the evidence has to line up. And I personally didn't see it. They they tried to show us as many side-by-side comparisons from one piece to the other, and it never really added up. It just didn't really look like plagiarism to me. It may have, at best, it was like they took inspiration from it, but that's the way I see it. Now it appears the entire fight is over. A new filing shows that the lawsuit has been settled in full. All claims are done, and the case will not go to trial. So that's it. It's over and done with. No more lawsuit. Bungie decided to settle out of court. So what does this mean? What this means is that one of Bungie's lawyers would have talked to Martineau's lawyers and said, okay, we're going to pay you a settlement, an amount of money for you to just shut up. All right. You're going to sign a hefty NDA and you're never going to talk about this ever again. And it's over and done with. Okay. And then they throw $1 million at you or whatever. Right. And it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But, when you're a company that's, worth $3.6 billion, a lot of money to us is not a lot of money to them, right? So $1 million getting thrown out like that. To me, $1 million is incredible. Of course, $1 million is like the best day of my life. Like, holy shit, I'm rich. Like, I made it, right? But to Bungie and to Sony, and when a company has billions of dollars in value, it's not as much, right? So they're able to do that, able to silence this one in this situation. Destiny 2 Red War lawsuit update. Bungie and Martineau settle all claims according to new court filing. Oof, let's hear what it says. Or let's see what it says, rather. According to a minute entry obtained by the Game Post, a settlement conference was held on November 12th, 2025, in front of Magistrate Judge North. It says the talks were successful and that they resulted in the settlement of all claims. Wow. So just 2 days ago, they settled it all. A settlement conference was conducted on this date before the undersigned magistrate judge. The filing reads, negotiations were successful and resulted in the settlement of all claims. The court thanks counsel and the parties for their efforts in bringing this matter to an amicable resolution. So there it is. At this time, there is no information on the settlement terms, so we don't know how much money it is, right? But we could guess it's probably a pretty penny, right? It's probably a pretty penny. I would guess $1 million. That would just be my random ballpark. I'm throwing a number out there. $1 million sounds like a good number. Who knows though? Certainly it's not like $10 million. That would be insane. It could be as low as it could be literally as low as like $20,000, which is still a lot of money, but some in any of one of those ranges is where it could be. I doubt that, considering how much legal fees Martineau would have had to pay to get to this point, I doubt he would settle for that little amount. He would probably try to get his legal fees and then however much above that he believed he was owed, right? So it's hard to say, right? It's very hard to say. And anything that we do say is purely speculation, it should be said, so we can make up some number in our head, but unless there's like something we could even reference, like a similar case where something like this happened and this was the outcome, then really it's just mere speculation. We do not know the amount, whether any non-monetary conditions were included, or how the final agreement treats the Red War, Curse of Osiris, or the Grimoire Anthology. If more documents appear in the case, we will update this section accordingly. Oh, dude, I wish. I will definitely bring you an update, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel with notifications on. I wish there would be an update to this. How cool would it be to, all right, this is a crazy, plot twist to this. Imagine if he was a really big fan of Destiny 2, or a really big fan of Destiny 2 was pushing this case, and they said, the only way I will let this case come to a settlement is if you reissue the Red War campaign in Destiny 2. You have to unsunset it. That is my only demand. You must unsunset all content that was sunsetted in 2020. Those are my terms. If you abide by that, then I will drop everything. That's what I would do. Honestly, I don't want the money. Just give me my sunset content back, okay? You would be the people's champion. You'd be a hero to the Guardians. This is not the only legal issue Bungie has been facing. A separate lawsuit involving former Destiny 2 game director Christopher Barrett is still active. Barrett sued Bungie and Sony, seeking $200 million and accusing Bungie of wrongful termination to avoid paying around $50 million. Woo! That's a lot of cheddar. $50 million was owed to Christopher Barrett before he was fired from Bungie. I believe it was fired. Laid off, fired, let go, forced to leave, one of those, because of SA allegations, all right? Which is very serious allegations, by the way. Let's not take this lightly, And because of that, he was not paid the money that he was owed from the Sony acquisition of Bungie, that $3.6 billion acquisition. When that happened, Christopher Barrett, who's been at Bungie for like 30 years, he had a bunch of that OG Bungie stock, you know what I'm saying? That good stuff. And when your company sells, you make a lot of money, right? You have to sell all of your stock to the purchaser, and they pay a pretty penny. So he was owed, I think he was meant to be owed in total like something like $80 million. I think that was the estimate, and he was paid 30 million, but he was owed 50 more, and it was meant to be paid over the course of the next few years. He was going to be the game director for Marathon, so he kind of got that ball rolling. I don't know if his vision would be any different than where it went already, but he was going to be the one running Marathon until this happened, and then they removed him, right? Now, there was a similar case like this with Marty O'Donnell, where he was left and he believed Bungie kind of, tried to not give him the payout he deserved, but then he won his case. But the difference is that there was no SA allegations associated with that one, right? So even though there was that weird Marty party thing, but we won't worry about that. So could Bungie have done this again? Who knows? Only time will tell. I don't know. It might be the case. Will the SA allegations against Christopher Barrett hold up? And will that be justified to his termination? Or will a court award him his $50 million, which is crazy? This is obviously a lot bigger. I highly doubt that Martineau was paid anything near the range of 50 million, right? Like, this is a much bigger legal case. Like, when you're thinking about legal battles, you're worried about the dollar amount that's about to get, paid out. Like, if you can get rid of Martineau for $1 million, that's fine, especially when you got this big looming $50 million case, or $200 million cases technically, right? You know what I'm saying? This one, you got bigger fish to fry here. Barrett was reportedly fired from Bungie after at least 8 female employees came forward and reported that Barrett had made them feel uncomfortable and behaved inappropriately toward them. Yeah, we heard a lot about this from, I believe, people who had gotten laid off, and we're talking about the things that he did and the way he made them feel uncomfortable. Obviously, some people were trying to say it was this way, that way, 8 people is a lot, what exactly he did, how the severity to the degree that he did, is it going to warrant his complete termination and denial of pay? This is all for a judge to decide. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the evidence. Like, what am I? I'm not meant to be the judge, the jury, the executioner here, but I'm just saying that these are things that a court will evaluate. They will evaluate the evidence and probably the testimony of these female employees, and they will make a decision. And Bungie is not going to be settling out of court for a cool 200 million or 50 million, right? Like, this one is going to trial. This one's going to trial. This is one where, you're not going to pull off the settlement. So what they decide in the end will be very interesting to me. If I had to guess, if I genuinely just had to guess, like, out of all the information I know and from everything I've seen, honestly, I don't even know if I could call it. I really don't know. I don't know. It would seem like it could go either way. I mean, O.J. Simpson walked away innocent from a trial, right? So anything could happen. Truly, I don't know. It's a coin toss. I don't know what's going to happen from this. We've seen crazier things happen, right? What do you think about the settlement? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, this is a crazy one. Very crazy story. It's good to put this to rest, though. It does kind of sting a little bit that because they settled and didn't let it go to a trial and then weren't proven innocent, that there will be this like overarching looming idea that maybe Bungie did steal the Red War campaign's narrative tempo and like creativity and like some of the elements, which really makes you feel ick, right? Like, you can't help but feel like, huh, man, I want to like this game and I want to play it and I want to like this company. And then stuff like this happens and it's like, you feel like you're supporting the bad guy. You know what I'm saying? And that hurts. That's why it's a really bad PR look for Bungie. You don't want to be the company that steals art and story and things from other people to make your game. You don't want that look. You don't want that image. It's very hard for people to be enthusiastic about your game. And it should be said that that's not what the settlement is, right? The settlement isn't Bungie's complete admission of guilt. The settlement is Bungie saying, we don't want any more of this. It's a bad PR move for us one way or the other right now. So let's just settle and move on from this, right? Settle and move on from this. So it should not be said that Bungie did 100%. They did it. They stole the Red War campaign. That's not the way we should perceive this, because that's not the current outcome. If it went to a trial and that's what a jury said, then I mean, that's the verdict, right? But that's not what happened here. So it's in that gray area though. It's in that area of like, I mean, I guess, it was bad enough that they had to settle, right? Like, if you tried to sue Bungie right now and say, hey, you guys stole my idea for the final shape. I posted a tweet about this in 2010. or something or whatever, right? I posted a tweet about the final shape 8 years ago, and I was like, "There's gonna be this guy, and he's gonna have a smoky head, and he's gonna be the embodiment of the darkness or something, right? I don't know, right? Say you had some crazy tweet. Bungie's not going to settle out of court with you, right? Like Bungie's not going to settle out of court, like unless you had some serious evidence, I guess. But the idea is, not anyone can just say Bungie stole from me, Bungie did this, Bungie did that. But when it actually has some power behind it, when it actually has some evidence and it's getting traction and getting momentum, so much to the point where Bungie has to agree to a settlement. That's rough, man. I mean, realistically, I just want to know the settlement amount. I mean, that's what people want to know, but we're never going to get that answer because there will be a very hefty NDA. Of course, Bungie's not going to say anything. The amount makes you look more guilty, right? If it's like $5 million, you're going to be like, holy shit, that makes you look really guilty. You are guilty of owing someone $5 million? That's pretty bad. The amount will make them look better or worse. Bungie's not going to say anything. The guy who won his lawsuit, he's not going to say anything. Dude, he's sitting pretty. He's going to be on that yacht with Gabe Newell, dude. Gabe Newell just bought a $500 million super yacht, and it's got 15 gaming PCs on it. Dude, Matthew Martineau's going to be on the yacht partying with Gabe 100%. So let me know what you think about the situation down in the comment section below. The forever fight between the Red War campaign lawsuit is over. It is done. But what do you think about it? Do you think that Bungie is guilty of it to some degree? Or do you think that they kind of got the short end of the stick and that because of their own sunsetting stupidity, they couldn't reproduce the necessary evidence to prove themselves innocent. And therefore they had to reach a settlement, right? There's going to be two different sides. People are going to argue one way or the other. And there's not really a right way or a wrong way of looking at it. But those are the big sides, right? Side one, the side that I think is maybe not as accurate is Bungie stole this campaign and elements for it and made the Red War. Side two is that Bungie didn't steal it. They took inspiration, but because of their own stupidity and sunsetting, they can't defend themselves. So they kind of had to just come to a settlement so that way they don't have to deal with this bullshit anymore, right? So those are the two sides. Those are what people are going to argue down in the comment section below, I'm sure. But that's a wrap on this one. We'll keep you up to date on the next lawsuit when we get an update with the Christopher Barrett situation. And of course, if there's any more craziness out there, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you later.